If you've ever watched a family reunion where everybody seems to know exactly who's in charge, the African savannah can feel a little like that, only with lions, hippos, crocodiles, and elephants instead of aunties and uncles. Here, the land is warm, wild, and always on the move. Water dries up, dust rises, shadows grow long, and every animal has to make a choice: eat, hide, travel, or fight to hold on to what little the dry season leaves behind. In this kind of country, survival is never simple, and peace never lasts very long. But that is what makes it so unforgettable. Over the next little while, we're going to step into a world of big cats, towering giants, and rivers full of danger. It's a place where every sound matters and every heartbeat counts. So settle in, enjoy the journey, and when you get a moment, say hello in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. Have you ever seen a place that looks calm at first glance, but feels like it is holding its breath? The Luangwa Valley Savannah is that kind of place. By late afternoon, the hard light turns soft and golden, and the wide grasslands begin to glow. Dry earth, scattered trees, and winding riverbeds stretch out as far as the eye can see. You hear the low rustle of grass, the distant call of birds, and sometimes the deep thump of a giant moving beyond the trees, a land shaped by heat and survival. Elephants and baboons make their home here, each one living by its own rules. It is wild, beautiful, and full of tension.
The smell hits first: warm mud, wet reeds, and the sharp, fishy scent of still water hanging under the morning heat. Then comes the sound. Not a roar, not a splash, just the soft, heavy silence of something waiting beneath the surface. That is the Nile crocodile. It lies so still in the river that the water seems to forget it is there. And yet this animal rules the shallows with an ancient kind of patience. From tip of snout to the end of its tail, it can stretch longer than most pickup trucks are parked nose to tail. The Nile crocodile lives across much of sub-Saharan Africa, and in the river country of the Luangwa Valley, it is one of the most feared animals at the water's edge. What makes it so dangerous is not speed, it is timing. It waits for the wrong step, the wrong drink, the wrong moment of carelessness. The body of a Nile crocodile looks like a living piece of riverbank. Its back is covered in rough, armored scales that look like old stone laid in rows. That thick skin is not just tough, it is built for life in water and on land, a kind of natural suit of armor. The head is broad and heavy, with eyes and nostrils set high, so it can watch and breathe while most of the body stays hidden below the surface. Those eyes can seem almost expressionless, but there is a sharpness in them that feels ancient. The tail is powerful and muscular, like a thick rope made for sudden force. One strong whip of that tail can send water flying in every direction. When a crocodile slides into the river, it does not look graceful in the way a fish or a bird might. It looks like a log that learned how to hunt. But that plain look is exactly what makes it such an expert ambush hunter. Every part of its body is built for hiding, holding, and striking at just the right second. Most of the day, the Nile crocodile spends its time half submerged in the water or stretched out on a muddy bank with its mouth open to cool down. It is a patient animal, and patience is its greatest weapon. It does not waste energy chasing down every meal. Instead, it waits where animals must come to drink. Fish are a major part of its diet, but it will also take birds, turtles, and any thirsty animal that ventures too close. In the dry season, when water shrinks into shallow pools and the river becomes crowded with life, the crocodile has even more chances to feed. That is when antelope, zebras, and other animals gather at the edge, all of them needing the same thing: water. The crocodile knows this. It does not rush. It watches the ripples. It tracks the movement of shadows. Then, in a burst that seems to happen from nowhere, it strikes. The attack is fast, heavy, and brutally precise. It grabs, twists, and drags. It is not a fair fight, and it does not need to be. Afterward, the crocodile may rest again as if nothing happened at all, the river once more looking calm and harmless. Life for a Nile crocodile is shaped by the rhythm of water. In the hottest part of the day, it may bask on the bank, soaking up warmth before slipping back into the cool shallows. At night, it becomes even harder to notice. Only the eyes may show above the dark water, tiny points of gold in the gloom. For such a large animal, it can be surprisingly quiet for long stretches, and that quiet is part of its success. It has survived for millions of years by doing less, not more. It saves its strength. It waits for the world to come to it. That way of life may seem simple, but it is deeply effective in a place where every meal matters. The Nile crocodile sits near the top of the food chain in these waters, helping keep river life in balance by taking the weak, the careless, and the unlucky. It is a reminder that even in a beautiful place, survival is never easy, and every drink of water can come with risk. And then there is the surprise. For all its fearsome reputation, the Nile crocodile is also a devoted mother. When it is time to nest, the female digs a pit in sand or soil and lays her eggs there carefully, sometimes 2 dozen, sometimes many more. She guards them through the long wait, and when the young are ready to hatch, they begin to make soft sounds from inside the nest. That is the signal. The mother opens the nest and gently carries her babies to the water in her mouth. It is a tender moment in an animal world that is often very hard. Not all of the young will survive, of course. The river is full of dangers, but that early care gives them a chance. In a creature known for violence, there is also protection. In a place like the Luangwa Valley, that balance between danger and care is part of what makes the wild world so astonishing. The Nile crocodile reminds us that survival here is not about being the fastest every time. Sometimes it is about being the stillest. Sometimes it is about waiting longer than anyone else. And somehow, that quiet patience is just as powerful as any roar. A pale shape springs from the grass, then another, and in a blink, the whole herd is moving like wind over water. Sharp ears tilt, tails flick, hooves flash, and the air fills with that nervous, electric energy only a gazelle can bring. Out here on the Serengeti, one wrong step can mean everything. The gazelle is one of the first animals to notice danger, and one of the fastest to answer it. It lives where open ground gives it room to run, and that speed is its best defense. There is something graceful about the way it holds itself, light on its feet, always ready. These slim antelopes spend their lives watching, feeding, and racing for safety, and they do it with a kind of beauty that makes the savannah feel alive. A gazelle is not just prey, it is a survivor built for quick thinking and quick legs. The gazelle looks almost delicate at first glance, but up close it is all business. Its body is lean and narrow, made for speed instead of strength. Long legs carry it across the grass with barely a sound. Its coat is smooth and usually a warm tan color, which helps it blend into dry grass and sunlit plains. A white belly and rump give it a clean, sharp look, and some gazelles also carry dark side stripes or bold facial markings that make their faces easy to recognize. Their eyes are large and set wide apart, giving them a broad view of the world around them. Those eyes matter, so do the ears. They are big and alert, always turning toward the smallest crackle in the brush. And then there are the horns. In many gazelles, both males and females have slender, curved horns that can look almost like fine black hooks against the sky. They are not heavy weapons like a buffalo's. They are more like elegant tools for warning, sparring, and staying in the game. Everything about this animal says one thing: move fast, stay aware, and do not waste energy. Most of a gazelle's day is spent doing two things: eating and staying alive. That may sound simple, but in the grasslands, it is a full-time job. Gazelles graze on short grasses and tender shoots, moving from patch to patch as they feed. They are picky in a practical way. They want food that gives them energy without slowing them down. They usually feed in the cooler parts of the day, when the heat is not as harsh and the risk can feel a little lower. But even then, they never truly relax. One head drops to feed while another lifts to scan the horizon. That is the rhythm of their life. If danger appears, they explode into motion. Their speed is famous, but so is their body language. A gazelle may stamp, snort, or make a sudden high leap called a pronk, where it springs into the air with stiff legs. It can look almost playful. In truth, it is often a warning. I see you, I am ready, don't try me. And in a place where cheetahs, lions, and hyenas all watch the same open ground, that warning matters. Gazelles often live in groups, and that is part of their survival plan. Many eyes are better than one. A herd can spot danger sooner, and when one animal bolts, the others follow in a heartbeat. There is safety in numbers on these plains. Mothers also have to be careful with their young. A newborn gazelle is hidden in grass for a time, and the mother returns to nurse it while keeping watch nearby. The little one must learn fast. There is no long childhood out here. Soon it has to stand, move, and read the body language of the herd. Gazelles communicate with each other in small, quick ways: a head toss, a twitch of the tail, a sudden freeze. They do not need loud noise most of the time. Their whole life depends on paying attention. And when mating season comes, males may challenge one another with horn displays and chasing runs, showing strength without always turning to a full fight. That matters too, because energy is precious. Every sprint costs something. Every mistake costs even more. Gazelles matter in the bigger story of the grasslands too. They help turn grasses into life that other animals can use, and they become food for some of the great hunters of the savannah. That may sound harsh, but it is part of the balance here. Without animals like gazelles, the whole chain would weaken. They are a key piece of the living puzzle, linking grass, predator, and open country together. And because they are so sensitive to trouble, they also remind us how quickly a wild place can change. When gazelles are thriving, the land is speaking clearly. When they vanish, something is wrong. That is why protecting open grasslands matters so much. The gazelle may be light as a breeze, but it carries a heavy message. It tells us that survival in the wild is not only about strength, it is about awareness, timing, and grace under pressure. And when a gazelle leaps away across the golden plain, it feels like a little spark of hope running across the earth. Have you ever watched an animal that looks like it was built for one job only and built for it perfectly? The cheetah is that kind of cat. Out here on the Serengeti grasslands, where the wind combs through the tall gold grass, this sleek hunter lives life on the edge. It is the fastest land animal on Earth, but speed is only part of the story. The cheetah is a careful, lean, quietly determined survivor. And in a world full of lions, hyenas, and hard luck, that matters. Let's get to know the cat that turns a simple chase into one of nature's most breathtaking moments. The cheetah looks almost painted into the land. Its coat is pale gold with black spots, like sunlight broken by shadows. Those spots help it fade into the grass when it crouches low and waits. Its body is slender, long, and built like a racing arrow. The chest is deep, the legs are long, the tail is thick at the base and acts like a steering wheel during a high-speed turn. Its face is special too. Black tear lines run from the eyes down to the mouth, like streaks of charcoal. Those marks help cut the glare of the sun, almost like nature gave it its own pair of sunglasses. A cheetah's head is small and round, with high-set eyes that scan the open plains. Unlike a lion's heavy build, the cheetah looks light, almost delicate. But do not let that fool you. Every part of this cat has a purpose. Its body is made for sudden motion, quick turns, and short bursts of power. It is not built to wrestle, it is built to run. And when it moves, it seems to float just above the grass, all muscle and grace and nerve. Cheetahs spend much of the day watching. They rest in the shade when the sun is high, saving every bit of energy for the hunt. They are most active at dawn and dusk, when the light is softer and prey animals are busy feeding or moving between grazing spots. A cheetah hunts with its eyes first. It picks out a gazelle or a young antelope, then uses the grass and dips in the ground to hide its approach. It gets as close as it can, sometimes crawling low like a cat after a sparrow. Then comes the burst. In just a few heartbeats, it explodes into a sprint that can reach around 60 miles an hour. That is faster than most cars on a neighborhood street, but it cannot keep that pace for long. The chase is a short, hard gamble. If the prey slips away or makes a sharp turn, the cheetah may have to stop and start over another day. That is one reason hunting is so risky. A cheetah burns through energy fast and every meal has to count. After a kill, it must eat quickly if stronger scavengers are nearby. This is a hard life. No wasted steps, no wasted chances. And because the cheetah's body is so specialized for speed, it pays a price in strength. It is not as heavy or powerful as a lion. It wins with timing, not brute force. That makes every successful hunt feel like a small miracle. A cheetah's family life is mostly a quiet, careful story. Adult females usually live alone, except when they are raising cubs. A mother may bring up her young by herself, keeping them hidden in thick grass or low cover. The cubs are spotted and fluffy, almost like tiny versions of the adults with extra fuzz for camouflage. They stay close to their mother for months, learning how to move, stalk, and stay alert. At first they are playful, tumbling over one another and chasing grasshoppers or each other's tails. But play is practice. They are learning how to survive. The mother teaches by example, and the cubs watch everything. They must learn not just how to run, but when to run, when to hide, and when to freeze. Young cheetahs face many dangers. Lions, hyenas, and even large birds can threaten the smallest cubs. That is why a mother cheetah is always watchful. She may move her family from one hiding place to another, careful not to leave a trail that can be followed. Male cheetahs sometimes live in small groups, often with brothers from the same litter. These coalitions help them hold territory and improve their chances of finding food and mates. It is a different kind of family, but one built on trust and shared strength. In both cases, cheetah life depends on closeness, patience, and staying one step ahead of danger. The cheetah matters because it helps keep the grassland in balance. By hunting the weak, the sick, and the slow, it helps shape the health of prey herds. It also reminds us that survival is not always about being the biggest or strongest. Sometimes it is about being quick, careful, and perfectly suited to the land. Cheetahs face real trouble today, from habitat loss to shrinking wild spaces and conflict with people. That is why protecting open grasslands matters so much. When we protect the cheetah, we protect a whole world of life that depends on these open plains, and that is worth holding on to. There is something moving about a cheetah on the hunt. It feels like the land itself has decided to run. There is a quiet kind of beauty in a zebra. At first glance, it almost looks like a horse wearing a coat of painted stripes. But spend a moment with them on the open grasslands, and you realize there is nothing ordinary about these animals at all. They move in strong, steady groups, always watching, always listening, always ready to run. Zebras live across much of eastern and southern Africa, including the wide Serengeti plains. Their stripes are not just for show. Each zebra carries its own pattern, like a fingerprint made by nature. Up close, that black and white coat seems almost impossible, as if someone brushed it on by hand. But every stripe has a place, and every zebra has its own way of fitting into the crowd. Out on the savannah, they travel with wildebeest and gazelle, sharing the same risky country and the same open horizon. A zebra's body is built for the grasslands. Long legs, strong lungs, sharp eyes, and a mane that stands up like a little ridge along the neck. Those stripes help more than people once thought. They can make it harder for flies to land, and they may confuse predators when a herd starts to move all at once. And when that herd takes off, it is a sight you do not forget. Hooves pounding, dust rising, white flashes and black lines spinning across the plain like a living storm. Zebras spend much of their day eating grass, moving from one patch to the next with patient determination. They are not picky, but they must keep grazing to stay strong. In a dry place, that means walking far and working hard. They often feed in the cooler parts of the day and rest when the heat becomes too much. But they never really let their guard down. One zebra may lower its head to eat, while another keeps watch with ears pointed forward. Their lives are built around caution. Lions want them. Hyenas go after the young. Even a moment of carelessness can turn dangerous. Yet zebras do not live in fear. They live with discipline. They rely on one another, and that is their strength. Family matters deeply to zebras. Many live in small family groups, and the bonds between mothers and foals are strong. A young zebra stays close, learning the layout of the land, the sounds of danger, and the safest places to graze. When trouble comes, the adults close ranks. They face threats together, kicking and biting if they have to. Those kicks are no joke. A zebra can defend itself with surprising force. Their calls matter too. A bark, a snort, a sharp little signal in the grass can warn the herd in an instant. In a world where danger can come out of tall grass without warning, being connected is everything. Zebras also matter in a bigger way than many people realize. They trim the grass, which helps keep the plains healthy. And because they are such an important meal for large hunters, they help keep the balance of life in motion. Without animals like zebras, the great grassland story would not work the same way. They are part of the daily rhythm of the savannah, from dawn to dusk, from dry season to rain. And maybe that is what makes them so memorable. They are both beautiful and practical, both gentle and tough. A zebra looks like a creature painted for wonder, but it lives a life shaped by grit. In the end, that may be the most striking thing of all. You might not expect a baboon to steal the show in a place ruled by lions, elephants, and crocodiles, but these clever animals can turn an ordinary morning into pure chaos. One minute the valley is calm. The next, a troop of baboons is shouting from the rocks like a family argument that got out of hand. These are the sharp-eyed, quick-footed troublemakers of the savannah, and they are never far from danger or from the action. Baboons live across parts of eastern and southern Africa, where open ground, cliffs, and scattered trees give them both food and a fast escape route. And once you spend a little time with them, you realize they are not just noisy animals. They are smart, social, and full of surprises. Baboons live in troops, and those troops can be as busy as a small town. Each animal has a place in the group, and they seem to know exactly how to read each other's moods. They feed on fruits, seeds, roots, grasses, insects, and small animals when they can find them. Their long faces, strong jaws, and dog-like bodies give them a tough, almost comical look, like they were built for both mischief and survival. Their fur varies from olive and gray to brown, and their rear ends often show bright colors that help other baboons recognize them. Long tails help with balance as they travel over rocks and across open ground. But the real power of a baboon is not in its looks, it is in its mind. These animals are always watching, always listening, always learning. Baboons spend much of the day moving, feeding, grooming, and checking the safety of the group. They are early risers, and they often start foraging soon after sunrise, when the air is still cool. They use both hands to pick through grass and leaf litter, turning over stones and digging in the dirt for roots or insects. If they find fruit, they do not waste time. If they spot trouble, they do not waste time either. A baboon can run quickly across rough ground, and it can climb rocky slopes and trees when danger closes in. That makes it a hard animal to catch. And in a land where lions, leopards, and hyenas are always watching, that kind of speed matters. But baboons are not just busy snack hunters. They are also careful survivors. They often move as a group, with sentries keeping watch while others feed. If one baboon gives an alarm call, the whole troop can spring into motion. A sound, a glance, a sudden shift in posture, and the entire group knows something is wrong. That kind of teamwork keeps them alive. Family life is at the heart of a baboon troop. Mothers carry and protect their babies closely, and young baboons stay near adults where they can learn the ropes. Grooming is a big part of daily life, and it is more than just cleaning fur. It helps calm nerves, build trust, and strengthen bonds. In a baboon troop, friendships matter. Rank matters too. Some baboons get more food, more attention, and more chances to lead, while others must wait their turn. It can be rough, and at times it can look downright tense. But those social rules help hold the group together. Young baboons grow up watching everything. They learn who to follow, where to feed, and how to stay safe around predators. They also learn how to read the faces and calls of the troop, which is a skill as important as speed or strength. And when new danger appears, the adults do not just panic. They organize, they bark, chase, bluff, and scatter in ways that can confuse even a hungry hunter. That brain power is one reason baboons have done so well in harsh places. They are flexible. They can live on rocky cliffs, open plains, and woodland edges. They can adjust their diet when food is scarce. They can shift their travel routes when water runs low. In a world that changes fast, that kind of flexibility is gold. Baboons also matter because they help spread seeds and keep the landscape alive in small ways most people never notice. When they eat fruit and move on, they carry seeds with them. When they dig and search for food, they turn over soil. They are not the biggest animals on the land, but they are a busy thread in the whole fabric of the savannah, and that fabric would not be the same without them. There is something deeply familiar about baboons. Maybe it is the way they bicker, or the way they huddle, or the way they seem to be thinking 3 steps ahead. They remind us that life in the wild is not only about teeth and claws, it is also about family, memory, and watching out for one another. Under the first light of day, a baboon troop can feel like a whole little world, full of noise, nerve, and heart. And once you have seen them, you do not forget them. After all, in this kingdom, even the smallest troublemaker can be a giant story. You might not expect one of Africa's most graceful animals to be built like a tower on stilts, but that is exactly what makes the giraffe so unforgettable. One glance and you know you are looking at something special. A giraffe can stand higher than most trees around it, stretching its long neck toward the sky like a living lookout post. It lives across the open savannas and woodland edges of places like the Serengeti, where the light is bright, the wind is warm, and danger can come from far away. But the giraffe is not just a pretty face with a funny walk. It is one of the most interesting animals on the plains, from its quiet family life to the way it feeds high above the crowd. And once you get to know it, you may never look at the savannah the same way again. A giraffe is easy to spot, but hard to forget. Its body is covered in a beautiful patchwork coat, like someone painted it with broad, uneven brushstrokes. No 2 giraffes wear the exact same pattern. Some have dark brown patches, others more golden ones, and each design helps break up its outline in the light and shadow of the trees. Those long legs look almost delicate at first glance, but they are strong and steady, built for carrying a huge body across rough ground. Its neck can seem almost impossible, reaching up as if it were made to browse the highest leaves in the world. And then there is the head, with 2 little horn-like bumps called ossicones, often hidden under a tuft of hair. The eyes are large and calm, with a watchful look that seems to take in everything at once. Even when a giraffe is standing still, it has a kind of quiet elegance, like a dancer waiting for music to begin. Most of the time, a giraffe spends its day eating. That long neck gives it access to leaves that other animals cannot easily reach, especially the tender leaves and shoots of acacia trees. It moves slowly through the brush, using its long, dark tongue to pull food from thorny branches. That tongue And while they may seem slow and gentle, they can cover ground with surprising ease, their long legs carrying them in a smooth, loping stride that looks almost effortless. Family matters a great deal to giraffes, even if their groups can shift and change. They often live in loose herds where mothers, calves, and other adults may travel together for a time. These groups are not locked together like a tight little family unit, but they still offer safety in numbers. A calf begins life in a dangerous world, and its first challenge is simply to stand. Within a short time, it must learn to keep up, because the plains are no place to lag behind. Mother giraffes are attentive and protective, staying close to their young and using their height to keep watch for trouble. If danger comes, a giraffe's first answer is usually to flee, but it is not helpless. An adult can deliver a powerful kick that can seriously injure a lion if needed. Young giraffes stay close to their mothers for warmth, milk, and guidance. They learn by watching, following, and slowly finding their place in the moving life of the herd. Their deep, quiet contact with one another is part of what makes them feel so gentle and so strong at the same time. Giraffes matter in ways that are easy to overlook at first. By feeding high in the trees, they help shape the landscape and keep plant growth in balance. Their browsing can open space for new leaves and fresh shoots, and that matters for many other animals sharing the same land. When giraffes move across the savannah, they also help connect life in subtle ways, carrying seeds and stirring the world around them as they go. But like so many animals of the wild, they face growing pressure from habitat loss and human expansion. That makes their survival all the more important. Protecting giraffes means protecting the open lands and healthy tree cover they need to live. And when we do that, we are not just saving one beautiful animal. We are A deep, rolling grumble carries across the grasslands, and with it comes the musky smell of a million hooves and dry dust kicked into the air. That is the wildebeest, moving in huge numbers across the Serengeti like a living storm cloud. At first glance, they may not seem special, but spend a moment with them, and you realize they are built for one of the hardest journeys on Earth. The wildebeest is a common sight on the plains of East Africa, where open grass, hot sun, and roaming predators shape every day of its life. It is one of the great travelers of the savannah, always on the move, always listening, always ready to run. And in a land where survival depends on timing, speed, and instinct, the wildebeest is one of the key players in the whole wild drama. The wildebeest looks a little like it was assembled from different animals on a busy workbench. It has the broad face of a horse, the shaggy mane of a wild pony, and the sturdy body of a cow. Its shoulders are high and heavy, its back slopes down behind the neck, and its long tail flicks at flies like a whip. The coat is usually gray-brown, though in the dusty light of the plains, it can take on almost any shade from silver to charcoal. The beard under its chin gives it a rough, old-world look, like a traveler who has seen too much to care about vanity. Males are usually darker and more muscular than females, with curved horns that sweep outward and up. Those horns are not fancy decoration. They are tools for pushing, wrestling, and defending space when needed. Up close, the animal has a restless look. The eyes are set wide apart, giving it a broad view of the world. That makes sense because on these open plains, danger can come from almost any direction. A wildebeest does not live a quiet life. It spends much of the day grazing, moving its head low through the short grass and pulling up mouthfuls of fresh green growth. It is a steady feeder, built for covering ground and keeping moving, rather than lingering in one place too long. And that movement is the heart of its story. Wildebeest follow the rains. When fresh grass sprouts, they go. When water dries up, they move again. Their lives are tied to the rhythm of the land, and that rhythm can send them traveling hundreds of miles. Along the way, they often mix with zebras and gazelles, each species using the plains a little differently. Zebras clip the taller, tougher grass first, helping expose the shorter shoots that wildebeest prefer. Then the wildebeest come through behind them, feeding on what is left. It is not a planned partnership where both sides benefit in a neat, human way, but it does help all three species make the most of the same ground. And wherever large herds gather, predators notice. Lions watch from the edges. Cheetahs look for a weak calf or a moment of hesitation. Hyenas wait for stragglers. The wildebeest is always on alert, and that constant nervous energy is part of its daily life. Even while feeding, it lifts its head often, ears turning, nostrils flaring, listening for the smallest warning. When danger comes, the response is fast and sudden. A herd can spring into motion like one body, hooves thundering, dust rising behind them in long golden clouds. The decision to run is never taken lightly, but it is made quickly. Better to waste a little energy than to wait too long. Family life for wildebeest is both simple and demanding. They gather in large herds and there is safety in that crowd. More eyes mean more chances to spot danger. Calves are born into this world at a remarkable time, often when grass is fresh and life is just beginning to recover after the rains. The mother stays close to her calf, and in the first days, the little one must learn quickly. It has to stand, walk, and follow, because the herd will not wait forever. The bond between mother and calf is strong. In a moving sea of animals, they still find each other. Calls, sense, and memory help keep them together. Wildebeest also use sound to stay connected. Their grunts and snorts may not sound graceful to us, but they matter a great deal out on the plains. A low call can help a calf find its mother. A sharp snort can send the whole group into motion. There is nothing delicate about life here. It is practical, urgent, and always in motion. The herd itself becomes a kind of shield. A predator trying to pick out one animal from thousands faces a hard job. Confusion helps the wildebeest survive. When the herd moves, it creates a wall of bodies, a blur of legs and horns and dust. And yet, for all that strength in numbers, each wildebeest remains vulnerable. A stumble can be deadly. A calf can fall behind. A single wrong turn can open the door to a chase. That is why the species has endured by being alert, mobile, and ready to adapt. It is not the strongest animal on the plains and not the fastest in a sprint compared with a cheetah, but it is one of the toughest. It survives by living in motion. Wildebeest matter because they help hold this whole grassland world together. They eat the grass, spread nutrients through the land, and feed the great hunters that depend on them. Without them, the balance of the Serengeti would feel different. The plains would be quieter, emptier, poorer. Their great migrations also stir the land itself, keeping the cycle of life moving from one season to the next. In that way, the wildebeest is more than just a herd animal. It is a reminder that survival is often a team effort, and that strength can look like endurance as much as power. There is something moving about seeing them all together, heads down, tails swishing, hooves drumming the earth. They may seem ordinary at first, but in the wild, ordinary animals often do the most extraordinary work. If a lion is the king of this wild country, then the Cape buffalo is the old neighborhood tough guy who never backs down. Heavy, broad, and built like a moving block of muscle, this animal can look almost slow at first glance, but that first glance can fool you. The Cape buffalo lives across much of sub-Saharan Africa, often in herds that can number from a few dozen to hundreds. Its greatest strength is not just its size, but its stubborn courage and the way it stands together with the rest of the herd. These buffaloes are famous for being hard to read and even harder to push around. They graze in the open, travel in groups, and keep a wary eye on the grasslands around them. A buffalo herd is never just a crowd. It is a wall of horns, watching, waiting, and ready. Up close, a Cape buffalo looks as if someone built it for a job that involved hauling boulders. Its body is deep and heavy, with a broad chest and thick shoulders that seem to roll forward with every step. The coat is usually dark brown to black, and in the hot light it can shine with a dusty, worn look, like old leather. Its horns are the feature most people never forget. In males, the horns curve outward and then sweep down and inward, joining at the top in a thick, armored shape called a boss. That helmet-like crown is not there for decoration. It is part shield, part weapon, and part warning sign. Even the face looks serious, with dark eyes set under a heavy brow and ears that flick at every sound. When a buffalo lifts its head through tall grass, it can seem almost prehistoric. These animals carry themselves with a kind of deep, grounded strength, like an old tractor that still has plenty of life left in it. They are not flashy. They do not need to be. Their whole shape says one thing clearly: do not underestimate me. Most of a Cape buffalo's day is spent doing the plain, necessary work of staying alive. It feeds mainly on grass, and it uses its wide mouth and strong lips to crop the blades close to the ground. In the early morning and late afternoon, herds move out to graze, often keeping a loose line as they work across the land. There is nothing hurried about it. They eat, step, chew, and move on. During the hotter part of the day, they often rest in shade or near water, where dust, insects, and the heat can be managed a little more easily. Water matters a great deal to buffalo. A herd will often stay close to rivers, pools, or marshy ground, especially when the season turns dry. You can think of them as animals that plan their day around the weather and the water like a person might plan a long road trip around the gas station. They are also constantly alert. One animal raises its head, and soon the whole herd seems to sense that something has changed. Birds, scents, movement in the grass, even the sound of distant hooves can shift their behavior. This is a life built on caution and habit. Eat, watch, move, rest, repeat. A Cape buffalo is most comfortable when it is surrounded by others of its kind. Herd life gives these animals safety, and safety allows the young to grow. Calves stay close to their mothers, tucked into the protection of the group. When danger appears, adults often tighten the herd into a defensive ring, with the strongest animals at the edges and the young kept in the middle. That simple arrangement can mean everything. Buffaloes communicate with body posture, snorts, and low grunts, but much of their message is written in movement. A head lift, a turn of the horns, a sudden shift in direction. The whole herd may respond in an instant. And when one buffalo is threatened, others may come back to help. That is one of the reasons people respect them so deeply. They are not lone wanderers. They are family animals, and they defend one another with real commitment. Mothers are attentive and protective, and calves learn the ways of the herd by staying close and watching older animals. Life in a buffalo group is not gentle in the soft, peaceful sense. It is practical, it is alert, it is full of memory. Where water is, where grass grows best, where lions have hunted before, where the safest path lies through the brush, these things are passed along by experience. There is wisdom in that. In the great grasslands, the Cape buffalo plays an important role. As a grazer, it helps shape the landscape by keeping grasses cropped and moving nutrients through the soil. Its hooves press the ground, and its feeding habits help keep the open country in balance. And of course, it is also a key part of life for the hunters that follow it. Buffalo are a major source of food for lions, and that makes them one of the most important animals in the whole story of survival here. But this is not a simple relationship. The buffalo does not go quietly. It can fight back with surprising force, and that fight changes everything for the animals around it. In a land where every meal matters, the Cape buffalo stands as one of the great tests. Strong, stubborn, and deeply social, it is one of Africa's most impressive survivors. And when a herd moves across the plain, it carries with it the feeling that the wild is still holding its ground. If you lined up 10 pickup trucks, an African elephant would still make them look small. That is the kind of giant we are dealing with here. Yet for all that size, these animals move with a calm, steady grace that feels almost gentle. African elephants live in the broad savannas and dry valleys of eastern and southern Africa, where water can be hard to find and everyday matters. What makes them so remarkable is not just their size, but the way they think, remember, and care for one another. They are the memory keepers of the land, and they can turn a dry valley into a place of life. A herd does not just pass through a landscape, it changes it. Now let's spend a little time with these amazing giants and see how they live, lead, and survive. African elephants are the largest land animals on Earth, and the first thing you notice is their sheer presence. An adult can stand well over 10 feet tall at the shoulder, with a body built like a moving hillside. Their skin looks rough and wrinkled, almost like cracked river clay. But that tough look hides an animal that is deeply sensitive. Their ears are enormous, shaped like wide fans. They flap them to help cool their bodies in the hot sun. And then there is the trunk, one of the most useful tools in the animal world. It is a nose, a hand, a drink straw, a shovel, and a gentle touch all in one. With it, an elephant can pick up a single blade of grass or lift a heavy log. Their tusks curve outward like pale ivory spears. Though they are not weapons first, they are tools for digging, stripping bark, and moving branches aside. Even their eyes seem thoughtful, with a calm look that gives them a wise, old soul feeling. When a herd comes through, the whole scene changes. You hear branches snapping, you feel the ground tremble. You know something huge has arrived. Most of the day, elephants are busy eating, and they eat a lot. Grass, leaves, bark, roots, fruit. If it can be chewed, an elephant will likely try it. They spend many hours feeding because a body this big needs a tremendous amount of fuel. In dry country, they become expert problem solvers. If water is buried under the ground, they can dig for it with their feet and tusks. If a tree is in the way, they may knock it down or strip it clean. That may sound rough, but these actions help shape the land. They open up thick brush, create paths for smaller animals, and even help new plants get sunlight. They also travel long distances between waterholes, often following routes their elders know by heart. In the hottest part of the day, they rest in shade or stand in the cooling mud. At night or in the early morning, they move more freely, using the cooler air to cover ground. Their world is built around memory, and the older females know where to go when the land turns dry. Family is everything to an elephant. The herd is usually led by an experienced older female called the matriarch. She is not the biggest, but she may be the wisest. Her memory can mean the difference between life and death. She remembers where the rain pools last season, which path leads to safer ground, and where danger once waited. The younger females and their calves stay close, almost always within sight or touch. They greet one another with trunk touches, low rumbles, and little nudges that say, "I'm here." The calves are watched over by many adults, not just their mothers. It is a shared job, a community effort. If a baby stumbles, others step in. If a stranger approaches, the herd tightens together. They even seem to comfort one another when upset or frightened. Their voices carry farther than we can hear, with deep sounds that travel through the ground and air over long distances. This lets family members stay connected even when they are far apart. And when a young elephant learns the ways of the herd, it is learning a way of life that has worked for generations. African elephants matter in a big way. By breaking branches, digging for water, and clearing paths, they help keep the land healthy and varied. Many smaller animals benefit from the changes they make. Birds, antelope, and insects all find opportunities in the spaces elephants open up. They are not just living in the savannah, they are helping shape it. But elephants also face real threats from shrinking habitat and illegal hunting for ivory. That is why their future depends on people making good choices and protecting the places they need. When elephants are safe, whole landscapes stay alive with them. And maybe that is the best thing about these giants. They remind us that strength can be gentle and that memory can be just as powerful as muscle. When an elephant family moves across the land, it feels less like a herd and more like a story unfolding in slow, steady steps. If grass could smile, the Serengeti would be grinning from ear to ear. This great sweep of land rolls out like a green and gold blanket, dotted with acacia trees and alive with movement in every direction. When the wind runs across the plains, the tall grass ripples like water, and the whole landscape seems to breathe. In the cool morning, there is the soft buzz of insects and the distant calls of birds. By afternoon, the heat shimmers above the earth, and shadows grow thin and sharp. This is the country of speed and endurance, where cheetahs, gazelles, zebras, wildebeest, buffalo, giraffes, and impalas all share the same open stage. And in this wide open world, every meal, every escape, and every dusty hoof print tells a story of survival. Out on the river, there is a kind of stillness that feels ancient. The water lies flat and dark, and then, almost without warning, a shape rises from it like a boulder coming to life. It is the hippopotamus, one of Africa's biggest and most surprising animals. At first glance, it looks slow and sleepy, but don't let that fool you. This heavy river giant can turn from calm to dangerous in a heartbeat. Hippos live in rivers and pools across sub-Saharan Africa, where water gives them shade, safety, and relief from the heat. They are built for life between land and water, and nearly everything about them tells that story. What it looks like. A hippo is a broad, barrel-shaped animal with a huge head, tiny ears, and eyes that sit high on the skull like little lookout posts. Its skin is thick, smooth, and grayish-brown, almost like wet stone. A big adult can weigh nearly 2 tons, yet it can still glide through the water with surprising ease. The mouth is its most unforgettable feature. When a hippo yawns, it doesn't look sleepy at all. It looks like a warning sign. That wide-open jaw can stretch more than 150 degrees, showing long canine teeth that can grow up to 20 inches. Those teeth are not for chewing grass. They are used in fights and displays of power. A hippo's body is covered in a special reddish fluid that helps protect its skin from the sun, almost like the animal is wearing its own built-in lotion. Seen half submerged at dusk, with only the ears, eyes, and nostrils above the surface, a hippo can look almost unreal. How it spends its days. Most of the day, hippos stay in the water, almost motionless. That is not laziness, it is survival. The river keeps their skin cool and safe from the hot sun. When the day is at its fiercest, they may do little more than blink, breathe, and drift in place. But when evening comes, the hippos climb out onto land to feed. They usually graze on short grass, sometimes walking long distances under the cover of night. For such a massive animal, that may seem surprising, but a hippo still needs a lot of food to keep going. It is a careful routine, water by day, grass by night, and when the river grows low in the dry season, hippos may crowd into the few pools that remain, packed together like stubborn old neighbors who refuse to leave. Even then, they keep their calm for as long as they can. But if another hippo gets too close, or if a rival challenges the space they've claimed, that calm can vanish fast. Family life. Hippos are social animals, but not in the gentle way many people imagine. They live in groups in the water, often with one strong male watching over a stretch of river and the cows and young nearby. The rest of the group may float together, stand in the shallows, or move slowly through the pool, like drifting logs that breathe. Mothers are deeply protective of their calves. A baby hippo stays close to its mother for safety, learning where to rest, where to feed, and how to move in the river. The young can nurse even while partly underwater, which is a remarkable thing to watch. Hippos also talk to one another in their own ways. They grunt, snort, splash, and bellow. That deep roar can carry for nearly a mile. Sometimes it sounds like thunder rolling over the water. Other times it is just a warning. This space is mine. Keep your distance. A hippo's temperament can change quickly, and that makes every family group watchful. In the crowded river, body language matters. A turn of the head, a flick of the ears, a splash that says more than words ever could. Why it matters. Hippos do more than fill the river with drama. They help shape the world around them. As they move between water and land, they stir up nutrients and create paths used by other animals. Their grazing helps keep river-edge grasslands open. And their presence tells us something important about the health of the wet places they depend on. But hippos also face pressure when water becomes scarce or rivers change. In dry landscapes, every pool matters. Protecting hippos means protecting the rivers themselves, along with all the life that depends on them. There is something humbling about that. This huge, unpredictable animal is also a reminder that even the heaviest lives are tied to the smallest streams. Final thought. In the quiet of the river, the hippo seems almost like a piece of the landscape. But then it moves and you remember you are looking at one of nature's great powers. Slow to anger, quick to defend, and perfectly built for life between water and land. A lion can turn a whole valley quiet without ever raising its voice. One moment, the savannah is busy. The next, heads lift, ears twitch, and everything seems to freeze. That is the kind of power a lion carries. Meet the lion, ruler of the grasslands and the dry river country of Africa. It is built for strength, family, and patience, with a body that looks made from muscle and sunlight. What makes the lion so unforgettable is not just its roar, but the way it moves through the world as if it belongs there. In the Luangwa Valley, lions live in prides, and those prides are the heart of their lives. These cats do not simply survive here. They help shape the rhythm of the whole land. To see a lion in the wild is to understand in one glance why people have admired them for centuries. At a distance, a lion looks almost like a giant house cat made of gold and shadow. But up close, every part of it tells a different story. The mane of an adult male can be dark and heavy, like a rough wool collar tossed around the head and neck. It gives him a larger look and helps protect him during fights with rivals. Lionesses are sleeker, built a bit lighter, and that shape helps them move with speed and silence. Their coats are usually a tawny color, the same warm brown as dry grass in late summer, which helps them fade into the land like smoke. Their eyes are made for the dim hours of the day, and their ears catch the smallest rustle in the brush. A lion's paws are huge, padded, and quiet. Even when a grown lion weighs hundreds of pounds, it can walk with almost no sound at all. And then there is the face. The face of a lion is calm most of the time, almost sleepy looking, until you notice the focus in those eyes. It is a face that has learned how to wait. Lions spend much of their day resting in the shade, stretched out under a thorn tree or tucked beside tall grass where the sun cannot reach them. The heat of the valley makes midday hunting a hard job, so the pride saves its strength for the cooler hours. When evening comes, the lionesses become the workers of the family. They are the main hunters, and they hunt with teamwork that looks almost like a silent dance. One may move in front, another along the side, while the others circle wider around the prey. Their goal is simple: close the space, cut off escape, and move in before the target can think. A lioness can burst forward at surprising speed, but she cannot keep that pace for long. That is why every step matters. A hunt costs energy, and if the prey gets away, the pride pays for it with an empty belly. And that happens often. Only about 1 out of every 3 hunts ends in success. So a lion's day is not only about power, it is also about patience, timing, and knowing when to move. The pride also has to guard what it has. Scavengers watch from a distance, hoping for a mistake. Rivals may test the edges of the territory, and when the dry season stretches on, every meal becomes more valuable. Lions are not careless eaters either. They can feed on large animals that many other hunters would never dare to tackle, but they are not above taking what is easier when the chance appears. A lion will do what it must to keep the pride going. That is the truth of life here. It is not fancy. It is not clean. It is work and hunger and long waits under a hot sky. Family is everything to a lion. A pride is usually made up of related lionesses, their cubs, and 1 or more adult males. The lionesses often stay together for years, and that bond gives the pride its strength. They raise their young side by side, and the cubs grow up surrounded by a crowd of watchful aunts, sisters, and mothers. A cub's world begins with soft touch, warm milk, and the steady presence of the pride. Then comes play, so much play. They pounce on tails, tumble over each other, and practice stalking with the seriousness of tiny soldiers. It looks adorable, and it is, but it is also training. A cub that learns to crouch low, move quietly, and judge distance is a cub that has a better chance later on. The adults teach without words. The young learn by watching. Lionesses also communicate in small ways all day long. A nudge, a lick, a low rumble, a tail flick. These little signals keep the family together. The males have a different job. They defend the pride's ground from outsiders, especially other males that may try to take over. That kind of challenge can be fierce, and the winners decide who gets to pass on their blood and protect the cubs already born. Life in a pride is not gentle, but it is steady, and that steadiness matters. Without it, the cubs would have a much harder time surviving. Lions matter because they are part of the balance of the land. They help keep prey, animals moving and alert, and that shapes how the whole savannah works. Healthy lion populations also tell us something important about the land itself. If lions are doing well, it often means there is enough space, enough prey, and enough wild country left for many creatures to share. That makes the lion more than a symbol. It makes the lion a sign that the wild system is still breathing, and that is worth protecting. In the end, a lion is not just a hunter with a golden coat. It is a family animal, a patient watcher, and a keeper of the valley's old rhythm. If you stand still long enough in lion country, you may feel that rhythm for yourself. If you've ever watched a house cat leap off a sofa, imagine that cat shrunk down, stretched out, and given the nerves of a racehorse. That is the Thompson's gazelle. Small, quick, and full of life, it moves across the East African grasslands like a flicker of sunlight. These little antelope live in open country where there is nowhere much to hide and every second matters. Their world is all about staying alert, staying light on their feet, and trusting those sharp little legs. They may look delicate, but out here, delicate does not mean weak. It often means fast. Thompson's gazelles are built for speed, and they live in one of the toughest neighborhoods on Earth. The plains are full of hungry eyes, and every day is a test. Still, they keep grazing, leaping, and calling to one another, as if joy itself is part of survival. If you love these graceful little runners, say hello in the comments and let me know where you're watching from. Here is a surprising fact. An impala can leap as high as a pickup truck and cover more than 30 feet in a single bound. That kind of power makes this graceful antelope look almost light as a feather. But out here, light feet can mean the difference between life and death. In the open grasslands and woodlands of eastern and southern Africa, the impala is one of the most familiar animals on the move. It is sleek, alert, and always reading the world around it. One ear turns this way, the other that way, as if it is listening to every breeze. Today we are getting close to this watchful grazer and seeing how it survives in a land full of hungry eyes. If you love wild places, I hope you'll say hello in the comments and let me know where you're watching from. The impala is a beautiful mix of grace and caution. It lives in herds that can number from a few dozen to many hundreds, and that group life gives it a better chance of spotting danger. You'll find impalas across the savannah, near woodlands, and around river edges where grass is fresh and water is nearby. One of the first things you notice is the shape of the body. It is slim and built for speed, with long legs like spring-loaded sticks. The coat is a warm reddish tan on the back, fading to a lighter cream on the belly and legs. There are dark markings on the tail, the tips of the ears and the rear legs, which help break up its outline in the grass. Males carry lyre-shaped horns that curve gently backward, while females do not. Those horns are not only for show, they matter in fights between males and in the struggle to hold a good place in the herd. Close up, the impala looks delicate, but that is deceiving. Every part of its body is designed for quick escape. Its hooves are narrow and hard, made for sudden turns on dry ground. Its neck is slim, its face is fine-boned, and its eyes sit high and wide for a broad view of the world. Even the way it stands says something about its life. An impala rarely looks relaxed for long. It is always ready to spring. That alert posture is part of what makes it so successful. In the impala's world, there is no such thing as completely resting. It spends much of the day grazing on tender grasses, but it is not a careless eater. It keeps one eye on the ground and the other on the horizon, lifting its head at the slightest sign of movement. When the grass is lush, it will also browse on leaves, buds, and fresh shoots. That flexibility helps it make do when the season changes and food becomes harder to find. The impala's life follows the rhythm of the herd. In the cool hours of morning and late afternoon, they feed and move, taking advantage of the best light and the safer moments of the day. At midday, they often gather in shaded areas to rest and ruminate, chewing their food slowly while still keeping watch. If danger appears, the whole mood changes in an instant. Heads rise, bodies tighten. Then come the warning snorts and sudden bursts of motion. Impalas do not rely on a single trick. They rely on a whole set of smart habits. They stay in groups, they use open spaces for better visibility, and they keep moving often enough to avoid being an easy target. When they flee, their leaps are not just fast, they are confusing. An impala can twist and bound in the air, making it hard for a hunter to stay locked on. It is like trying to catch a ribbon in the wind. Life in the herd is also about signals. A flick of the tail, a snort, a sudden stare into the grass. These small actions spread fast through the group. Young impalas learn by watching. They stick close to the adults, copying when to feed, when to run, and when to freeze. Mothers are careful with their calves, hiding them in thick cover for the first weeks after birth and returning to nurse them. Even then, danger is never far away. That is why numbers matter so much. Safety grows stronger when many eyes are watching. During the breeding season, males become more territorial and more assertive. They mark and defend areas where females gather, and rival males may clash, horns against horns, in brief but forceful fights. These battles are usually less about injury and more about proving strength. The winner earns the chance to hold a good patch of land and the attention of females. It is a hard life, but a highly organized one, shaped by both competition and caution. The impala matters in ways we do not always notice at first glance. It is a major source of food for lions, leopards, cheetahs, hyenas, and wild dogs, helping support the wider chain of life on the savannah. At the same time, by grazing and moving across the land, impalas help shape the growth of plants and keep the grasslands healthy and varied. When they are thriving, it is a good sign that the land still has room for balance, and that is worth protecting. The impala may look like just another graceful antelope at first, but it carries the story of the savannah in every leap. It is quick, alert, and beautifully built for a world that never stays still. Have you ever watched a quiet plain change its mind in a single breath? In the Luangwa Valley, that is what happens when a buffalo herd and a lion pride cross paths near the fading light. The afternoon heat is easing now, but the air still feels heavy, like the land is holding its breath. Dust hangs low over the grass. Ears twitch, heads lift. One buffalo snorts, and the whole herd tightens into a rough wall of horns and muscle. Then the lions move, not all at once, just enough to make the danger clear. A lioness slips through the grass, low and patient, while the rest of the pride spreads out wider, looking for any weak spot. It is a hard contest. The buffalo. A few buffaloes swing around, ready to face the threat head-on. And that can be enough to make even the boldest lion hesitate. Because this is the truth of life here. Every hunt costs energy, and every mistake can hurt. The lions know it. The buffalo know it too. The ambush may have started the moment, but the herd is not helpless. In the end, the plains settle into a shaky peace, with both hunter and prey still standing, still listening, still alive under the gold evening sky. And just like that, the dust begins to settle. The hard moments we've watched in this wild country leave more than a memory. They leave a picture of how life really works here. Lion. If you've enjoyed this journey, please like, subscribe, and share the film with someone who loves the wild. And tell us in the comments which animal stayed with you the most. Until next time, keep looking for wonder, because the natural world is still telling its story, one heartbeat at a time.